this is your thing.
Okay. Yeah, we are making this work. Understand, okay?
You fly with the banana. Oh, not a fly, like a
Is my hair okay? Not sticking out.
No,
Very
beautiful.
Perfect.
And we all laugh, so.
Okay.
Yay, Penny, thank you.
Our #1 top fan.
Top fan, diamonds, diamonds. We heart you. Okay. Are we going to get started?
Yes.
Let's do this.
Hi everybody, my name is Nadine.
I'm Jen.
I'm Ashley,
And we're Women's Warehouse.
I'm Thandi.
Guys, welcome to tonight's session. We are so excited to have you guys on board. Guess what? 16 Days of Activism. And you know what we're going to be talking about? The blesser.
The
You said the
blesser snare.
The blesser snare. I was going to say the curse of the blesser. But
That's a title to
Yeah,
work
there's
with,
something
actually.
we can do.
But I like the snare of the blesser.
Mm.
I think there's so many women that fall in that trap because the allure of finances and money is just so attractive, and we as women want to have all the nice things.
Yeah.
But is it really worth it? This is why we have our amazing guest Thandi here with us today.
Yeah.
This is an incredible woman,
Yes.
guys. I want to just tell you, Makoni, Thandi Makoni. I'm
Yeah.
saying that right.
Correct.
That's
correct.
100%. Good. This woman has written this book. It is called Get Up and Get Out. And you know why she wrote this book? Because God says, I will give you beautiful ashes. And that's what He's done with her. She's got an incredible testimony. Her life has been in turmoil. She was abused. She was a victim of gender-based violence. And this woman managed to get out. And she's going to tell us a little bit about that tonight. But before we go into her amazing story, I think it's important that you guys know, as women, and I know that there are men that follow us as well, and they also, men are also victims of gender-based violence. It's not just a female thing. And I think that it's important. What do you say, Jen? I mean, we've got to make awareness. I don't think that we are going to break the cycle, but we're going to disrupt it.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think what we've been trying to do, and that's we've been very, very intentional this 16 days, is to create as much awareness and tell our stories and tell the stories of other brave women, because I think a lot of isolation comes with the abuse, and isolation, comes together, and often you think you're alone. But when people share their stories and their testimonies, I think it's a massive change, and I think it's very important. And thank you for sharing, and thank you for being so brave to come along with these women who are fighting a good fight. But yeah, thank you so much. I think this is very important, and that's what we're doing. We're just creating awareness.
Yes.
That's pretty much.
Ash, do you want to tell them about what we're doing on Saturday?
Yes, so on Saturday we are having our gender-based violence boot camp. Yes, we're going to work out, we're going to break a sweat, and we'll probably be sore the next day, but it's all for a good cause, because what we are doing is raising money to put gender-based violence victims through a rehabilitation program and to empower them through a self-defense course so that they can feel confident and brave again and also heal.
Yeah,
You know,
and get
from
their
what they
power back,
experienced.
guys.
That's it. That's
Yeah,
it.
power back.
Amen.
So come on, be a boot camper.
Yes, it's 100 Rand per person and 400 Rand for a team of 5, and it's from 8:30 till about just past 11. Come and join us. There will be vendors there selling awesome goodies, but most importantly, it's all for an important cause. So get the family involved, get your friends involved, and come and join us Saturday morning, 8:30.
Yeah, and it's in Randburg, it's in Ballets Drive, just Northlands, and so it's just down the road from Northgate Shopping Centre. So be there at Harbour State for registration, and 9 o'clock we start the sweat workout.
That's it.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. We got prizes, some awesome prizes.
Yeah.
Okay guys, so now we would like to focus on Thandi.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay, so my journey, let me speak about the book. Let me speak about my book journey.
Yes.
And obviously the title is Get Up and Get Out, and finding the courage to end toxic relationships.
Yeah.
And this book was birthed by a lot of things that I enjoyed growing up. Having had an absent father and daughter relationship and rejection from my dad, I then had that yearning of affirmation. So I found myself looking for that affirmation and that love in the wrong places, in the wrong guys, you know. And also for the sake of livelihood and wanting to, you know, to have a good life, I got married to my ex-husband, and then he just became abusive, you know. So I just share that journey. How did I get into this man's arms? And I call it the blesser snare, because I literally got into that relationship for what I could get out of it, you know. And then later on along the way, I realized that he was very abusive, because it was just me, it was just Thandi, who did not have a social standing, did not have financial standing, did not have any economic standing. So because he was the sole provider of everything that had to do with me, then he became very abusive. Yeah. So that's about one of the chapters. That's the blesser snare. Found myself ensnared in a man that was very abusive. Yeah.
So I just want to understand a little bit more. How did you find the courage to get out? Because I think a lot of women will just sit there, especially financial. I mean, especially if there's children or financial, it's a very difficult decision to make, to actually leave, because you don't know where the next plate of food's going to come from, especially.
So I think for me, it was not a very easy decision, but obviously the first thing that I had to do was to acknowledge. You know, I had to actually acknowledge that there was an issue here, there was a problem here. I had to identify, you know, what were the triggers and what was it that landed him being abusive, you know, towards me. And then the hardest thing was to actually accept it, because now I had painted a facade with everybody around me, you know.
Yeah.
So having to accept that there was an issue, and having to do that with self-love, and also with, I also had a fear of saying, but how is society going to perceive me? Because now I've been painting that this is my lifestyle, but this is not the lifestyle that I'm having. I mean, I cry myself to sleep every night, you know. I get beaten every night. I had one day he took a barrel of a gun on my head, you know, to actually say, okay, I need to do something about it. So it was that moment of accepting that this is the reality of what is happening. The facade that I'm giving out to the world is not the life that I'm living, you know. And I had to make that decision. I had to put me first. I had to not worry about how my family, neighbors, colleagues, or anybody else was going to perceive me, because I was already burdened with the silenced voice that I was a failure growing up. So I did not want to look like a failure, but I had to think about me and what would happen had this man pulled his trigger, because my daughter was only about 6 months old then.
Oh my goodness. I think it's something that women struggle with a lot, because and that's why we do what we do. The stigma in a family, even going to family members and saying, I'm a victim, and they'll say, listen, stick it out, endure. Endure, you've got to endure. This is a painful process. And I think it's so important that women understand that love and pain do not go together. I know a lot in the, and I say this because even in our Afrikaans, and I'm not pointing a finger at a specific culture, but I know that in certain marriages they say, "Ibegezele," and that means you need to endure. And you need to hold the knife on the sharp end as a woman. And for me, it's so powerful, because that's the biggest, sometimes the hurdle. You think your family's going to go, don't worry, it's okay. They're like, no.
Begazela.
Begazela. Yeah.
Hang on in there.
Hang on, endure.
Yes, endurance.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I think that's something that I also just want to put it out there as a woman.
Since they're hard to help, can you see?
For me, it's, you know, if you're in an abusive relationship, even if your family and your friends around you say you've got to endure, I think it's unfair
Absolutely.
for your friends and your
Absolutely.
family to say to you endure, because they're not the ones being abused.
No.
Absolutely.
They are not the ones being beaten to a pulp. And I'm sorry.
No.
You know,
Absolutely.
Do you
you
know?
need to put your big girl panties on like you did.
I did, and I actually do say there's a portion in the book where I say I had to put out my big girl panties, you know, and make a decision. And I mean, it was not an easy decision, but obviously I had to put myself first. It was about me, it was about my life, and it was about self-love. Because if I hadn't done that, I would have probably been not here tonight to share this amazing testimony, you know. So absolutely.
For me, it was, and this is where women need to, sorry, we're doing something different tonight. So I'm sort of roam around. But for me, I had a massive issue with my vows and what I had said in front of God. And I realized, and it took someone to say to me, but God will never want you in a dangerous situation. And you need to change that because it's a mindset. You know, you need to tell women that nowhere are you supposed to be in a bad situation. Nowhere are you supposed to be unsafe.
Yeah.
Marriage is unity. You know what I mean? And so in marriages and relationships, when you're in that with a person, you never, because you're committed doesn't mean that you need to take it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's something that women need to really think about and understand. And that self-love, self-worth, understanding your identity in Christ, I think that all comes in because if you know that, you know that's not okay, no matter what.
Absolutely, and I think this topic is quite broad and quite debatable because as Christians, so I'm a Jesus girl, we all are, you know, and
Praise the Lord.
And we do know the Bible says the Lord hates divorce. He hates divorce, but there is nowhere where he says that you cannot divorce, because if somebody is abusing you and they are going to kill you, then we need you to apply the wisdom and get up and get out as well.
Absolutely, and I love that. Get up and get out.
Yes. I have a question. So you said, you know, you had to put on your big girl panties, and for you it was when he hit you on the head with the gun.
No, he didn't hit it. He didn't hit it.
He pointed at you.
He had the gun loaded
Yeah.
and pointing at my head and was threatening to blow my brains off.
So that was the turning point for you.
That was the turning point for me.
Yes. So I want to find out, right, after you've decided, what were the plans that you put in place to ensure that you get out?
So it started with, obviously I had to, after making the decision to say, you know what, I definitely had to go. I had to get out of this relationship. I had to plan because nothing happens without planning. And I had to be very careful as well because he was very aggressive.
Yeah.
So I had to actually put a plan in place, and what I said to him for me that worked was, I said I wanted to come back to Africa because I was in Europe at the time.
Oh, wow.
And I said to him, I wanted to come to Africa and I wanted to bring my baby back home so my parents could see my baby, you know. And so eventually he agreed to that. And when I came back, I never went back, you know. So for me, that was the strategy. I had to endure, and I had to come up with a plan for me to actually leave and come back, and then just never went back to him. But it was not an easy journey. I can't say that it was an easy journey. You know, I took the small steps. I had to forgive myself. I had to, you know, to look forward and for a better life and begin to understand who I am and who God said I am. And who God had created me to become. So it didn't happen overnight. It was a journey of many, many years. But thank goodness I am here, I'm alive. My daughter is now, she'll be 29 in January. And all of these things were happening, she was 6 months old.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's wise. You know, ladies, if there are any ladies listening tonight and you are in an abusive relationship, I think that what you're just saying is just apply wisdom. And we do a red flags workshop where we actually talk about how do I get out of an abusive relationship. And I think that's those steps of planning.
Absolutely.
Because you can't just get up and go, especially if you don't have any finances and things like that. Can you give us, the ladies, maybe a couple of things that you did? You know, when you were planning to leave, what did you do? How did you plan that?
Okay, so what I did first was I had to identify as well what was it that triggered him into becoming violent all the time. So one thing that I discovered would actually irritate him was, you know, when he said something or we got into an argument, then I would also argue back, you know, and then it would end up being a very heated fight, and obviously he would overpower me, and then there was the beating, and there was a whole lot of things that were happening. So after I had identified that this is what the trigger was, I then stopped answering back to him. So I would see a mile away to say, okay, so he wants to pick a fight, you know. So I would keep quiet, and then I wouldn't, you know, like speak back to him and all of that, and that really helped me. You know, it really did help me. So that was something that I did, and then I mentioned earlier that I then had to come up with a plan, and I said to him, you know, I would like to go to Africa, go back to Africa, and that sort of helped me as well. But what I must say was the most difficult thing for me was knowing that I was going to leave this relationship and not knowing where my next meal or my next form of living would come from, you know, and that was the most difficult thing. And I think that is the one thing that makes people linger on in an abusive relationship, because now you're thinking, but how am I going to eat? Where am I going to stay? How am I going to feed my baby? How am I going to do this? And so on and so forth. But that is actually not important. Your life is more important than it being endangered, you know. And the other thing that I also did was finding a confidant. It's very, very important to find a confidant, someone that you can speak to, someone that you can confide in, you know, somebody that you plan, you share your plans, and they hold you to account. Because you need to. So I had a plan to say, in a month's time, this is what is going to happen, and maybe in 2 months' time, then I'm going to go away, and so on and so forth. So it's important to always speak out and not allow the voice to be silenced, you know. And for whatever reason, if anybody finds themselves in an abusive relationship, what I would want to say to women out there, Jenny, is that you can always come and acquire whatever it is that you are living there for. You know, I've encountered a lot of women, including friends, that have literally failed to move out of abusive relationships because they are thinking, how is society going to perceive me?
Absolutely.
You know, I was living in this big house, and I'm driving this big car, and this is my lifestyle, and everybody's going to see my lifestyle. So yeah, that is something that I would really like to highlight to women.
So my question is, when you started dating this man, were there any red flags, or were there any signs to say, oh, he's an abuser, or he's a bit aggressive? Did you notice anything at the beginning?
Yes, I did. I mean, he was very abusive very early in our relationship, but I kept thinking that it was going to change, you know. And he was he was much older than me. He was a blesser, you know. I was his head. He was a blesser, and he knew how to work his way out, because he did it, and I thought, no, maybe he's just upset. The one thing that I did was I always made excuses for him, you know, and making excuses for him. Maybe I'm the bad one, maybe I spoke a lot, maybe I shouldn't have done what I had done, but I had seen those red flags very early in the relationship, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to beg a Zela. And I'm going to stay there. And the minute a man has that, just lifts his hand to you, trust me, it will never change. He can say sorry, he can spoil you with all the beautiful gifts. My husband was good at that, you know. After giving you a really good hiding, and I could hardly get out of bed, my body is sore, and then he would shower me with expensive gifts, you know. But what I've realized is that the minute a man puts a hand at you, he never stops. That's just the beginning. They don't stop.
And I'm glad you said about you made excuses, because we actually say on a Fridays, with your excuses will cost you your life. Do not look at these things as women, and this is what makes me so sad, is that we are fixers by nature. We are nurturers by nature. So when you meet someone that's broken, and you might be broken as well, you feel like you can mend and fix. And for me, that is actually not a very, it's quite a toxic mindset to have, because your excuses will cost you your life. I'm going to go just back to statistics, because I just want to sort of just bring back statistics in our crime stats. Femicide is up by how many percent? we are the, what do you
We
say?
have the highest femicide rate in
In the-
globally.
in the world.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is that there's a 99.99% chance if you go back, you're going not to make it. You're not going to make it out. So, Thandi was blessed enough to get out, and that's why her stories is so important. You guys need to just get help. There's organizations, but your excuses will cost you your life. Simple.
Absolutely.
Is there anything you'd like to share, like something that maybe stood out for you while you were writing this book? That you wish, what would you have told your younger self 29 years ago? What would you have told her now? What would you have told her?
I would have told that young Thandi to say, to survive or to make it in life, it does not depend on the next person. It does not depend on a man. So I had the wrong mindset and thinking that, for me to be successful, there needs to be somebody there to make me successful. And in this instance, it was a man, it was my husband.
Yeah.
So I would have told that girl to say, you can do it, because many years later, I am here, I'm still successful, doing a lot of great things as a woman. So that is what I would have actually told the younger Thandi, that you can do it. God has created each and every woman with greatness.
Yeah.
Each one of us with greatness, and we must stand up for that greatness and understand who God says we are, and understand the love that God has for women. A woman is a very powerful instrument in society. We are naturals, like you said. We birth life. So if we could just know how important we are, then we would never underestimate our power and what we can do in society.
I want to ask a question. So once you left your husband and you came back to South Africa, what we find in statistics say to us that a lot of women that come out of an abusive relationship, they don't know how to heal. They don't know how to cope without the finances, and they can't cope without having that person around them, and they go back. What did you do, and how did you prevent yourself from going back?
So for me, I was very clear, especially because he had threatened to shoot me, and not only once, so I knew that trigger would blow one day.
Yeah.
So, and it was not easy. So, and I speak about the whole journey. So I'm just focusing now on the Blessed Snare, because that's where there was a lot of gender-based violence that happened. But throughout the book, you will see it, because I think gender-based violence is not only physical. It's also emotional.
Yeah.
It's also mental, it's also economical, it's also financially. So people can actually abuse you in different ways. When somebody emotionally abuses you, that is abuse on its own. And it was a journey of many years. So when you ask how did I then make up, how did I cope, I can tell you that I still found myself repeating that cycle of abuse, because I still went and I got into relationships before I understood who Thandi was. I still had relationships and was still looking for that form of affirmation from all of these relationships, and then hopping from one relationship to the other did not make it easier for me. It actually left me more bitter and more resentful, with a lot of pain, with a lot of trauma. So now that was self-inflicted abuse. So some of it can actually be self-inflicted abuse. And then to numb that, I took to substance abuse and alcohol abuse. So it's been a journey. So I stand here speaking about the things that I have done, but do not wish for any other woman to have to encounter what other women have encountered, especially when we can share our stories and you can learn from our experiences that we can do life better.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so that's what happened. So I took to substance abuse because there was a lot of abuse that had happened within myself, from my husband, from the rejection, which was more emotional and mental, growing up and so on and so forth, and also the many different relationships I always found myself in somehow. They were abusive. I mean, there is it's a very sore topic, but I talk about it because I talk about being involved with a married man, And the reality is that a married man just lies to you. They lied to me because here you are, we've had dinner, and all of a sudden everything is rushed up. That is also very abusive. That is also very abusive. And so really walking that journey and understanding, first and foremost, do not engage in a relationship with somebody's husband. So it might not be physical abuse, but it's definitely going to be emotional abuse.
Yeah, sure. That's very powerful. And
Yeah.
I think that, for me, it's again that self-worth about who you are as a woman.
Amen.
And
Have
we
to.
and we go down this journey, and we doubt ourselves, and we put ourselves under so much pressure, and we believe that we're not good enough. And this is a thing that women do all the time. We don't believe that we are good enough. We don't believe that we can be just free in who God made us to be, and that we are actually beautiful the way we are. We're sitting here with 4 women, all different in every way, but so unique. I'm never going to be a magazine model. I'm never going to be that girl. I love my food too much.
We love our food very much.
I'm never going to be that girl, but you know what? I don't have to be that girl. I'm happy in my skin. I'm happy with my body. I gym, I do my thing, or whatever. I'm happy with who I am, and I think that goes for me out there is just love yourself. And I think that's what Thandi was saying, is that self-love of actually I'm worthy. I'm worthy. I don't have to depend on a man's love to justify me.
Yes, correct.
Absolutely.
And I don't need a man to justify me. I only need God to justify me. And He has already. He has already. So the beauty lies within, and I loved what you said, that being a woman is powerful. We're powerful, and I don't believe that ladies out there understand the power that lies within you.
Absolutely.
You have got so much inside of you to give to the world, because you are created so beautifully and so uniquely, and you are multifaceted in so many ways, from being able to birth children, look after children, to nurture, to do business, to do everything. And I mean, a lot of people, we read Psalm 31. Proverbs 31, not Psalm. Proverbs 31, and we say we can never be that woman. No, you can never be that woman that does everything. But you know what? I can guarantee you're probably going to be 60% of that woman, 70% of that woman. And you know what? That's good enough.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
I think if we had to take out, because the way society, there's this perceived perfection that we need to try and attain, and we self-deprecate ourselves and we self-loathe ourselves. I think if we were to understand that and give ourselves a sabbatical before we get married on loving ourselves, I think we would make far greater and far better decisions. So, encourage yourself. If you're looking to date someone, first find out, do a check on yourself. How am I with myself? Do I love myself? Am I comfortable with being the best version of me? Or am I looking and going, I want to look like? If the like is there, not ready yet. Because you cannot fully love someone. And what you said really is fatherly relationships. Having a poor relationship with your dad is not on you at all. And I think if we could, and that's where, Women's Warehouse wants to go, is that if we could teach children about good relationships and plant seeds with them at an early age, that rejection you can work through, because we leave it. It's a lot is left undone and unsaid. So a mom will carry on and be with the dad. The daughter then moves on into her life, but there's nothing that's been worked on. We haven't worked on the root, and that's the root. Because if there's a rejection from a father, from a parent, maybe from a teacher, or rejection is the whole core of that, because you can never love somebody if you feel rejected. And I think if you could teach kids that I need to love me, and if I love me, I'm okay. It can sort of articulate when it's older, going, I know that wasn't the greatest relationship, but I still love me. I'm still happy with being the best version of me. I wish other women the best. If you're still sitting in a situation, a lot of us women are, you can raise your hands and be honest. We don't wish women well.
No.
At all. We don't wish women the best. Like sitting here, I know you want the best for me.
I do.
I know that you want the best for me, and I know that you will push me to the greatest heights, but that's very rare.
There's they call it the pull down syndrome.
Yes.
We don't want to pull each other up as women.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
And what we say is, what do we say? Don't break her down, fix her crown.
Yes.
Stop doing that. Let us, and I think if women, even if we've had past hurt, if we get that right and we pull you up and go, I know what happened with your dad, you know, but this is how you can overcome. Instead of going, oh, well, you see now, you know, this is now causing a problem, or this is why our relationships have now, you know, not worked out. We need to get into that environment, because I think we can really be game changers. The greatness in us, but the greatness in unity, I think, is something that we haven't tapped into yet.
Absolutely.
Guys have got that right.
Yeah.
You can go to the same school and you will put that brother up for anything, but we don't get that.
We don't do that.
We don't get that.
And just to your point, Jeannie, there's just something that's so. One thing that when you talk about the foundation and the root of where this thing is coming from, part of my journey for writing this book as well is to encourage present parenting. Because when you look at all the issues that we have in society, if there's any men that are listening to us, God has given you the authority as heads of the family unit. So if every man can take up that authority and exercise it and be a present parent to his daughter or his sons as well, you know, it's definitely going to, will change the world. Because a little girl like me with an absent father relationship landed me in so much trouble. But I'm healed. I share my story as a testimony to inspire. And then a young boy as well that hasn't been affirmed. Trust me, that's how we get all the young guys in gangs. Because they are then affirmed there that, you know what, you are worth it, you can do this, you can do that, you are beautiful. And then we've got prisons that are full of destinies, lost destinies, you know. So the foundation is absolutely critical. And even to the mothers as well, it's very important to be present in the lives of our children. Because we can easily get carried away with everything, and you think, because my child goes to a private school and my child has everything that they need, but there is no emotional connection. You can still lose your children through that process. So present parenting, men and women, is very important for the foundation of any child, any gender.
Yeah, that's very, very, very important. So yeah, I think that you know, Ash, from your side, we've got to wrap it up because we've already almost gone over time.
Thank you for sharing your testimony. I know this is going to help a lot of women, because in our country, you know, that place of Snare, it's a real problem because of poverty.
Absolutely.
You understand? And I mean, I saw it a lot in varsity. I saw it a lot. You know, they start them young, even high school. I mean, in my sister's school, when she was still in high school in Ellen Glen, they started there as well. You know, getting the young kids, and they fall for it because they want better. Like you said, women want things. We like things. We like, you know, the 4,000 rand Brazilian weave. We want our nails done, you know, eyelashes, and if that's what it costs. My mom's not going to buy it for me. My dad's not going to buy it for me. So this man is going to buy it for me.
The blesser.
But I mean, and I mean, it all goes back to what we were all saying earlier on, is to love yourself and also to do some introspection. Why am I like this? Don't say, I'm like this, you know. I'm a Sagittarius, I'm Aquarius, I'm a Taurus, whatever. This is just the way I am, you know. No. Do some introspection, find out what your triggers are, find out what your traumas are, heal so that you don't fall into the snare. Yeah. So that's it from us, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us this evening and listening to Thandi's amazing, incredible stories. Thank you for sharing the tips with us. And so we have an awesome giveaway. Yes, so 2 of you, there's 2 books, eh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's 2 books. So 2 of you lucky ladies will walk away with this incredible book that will leave you feeling uplifted, educated, and empowered. So stay tuned. We will leave the details for the giveaway on a post after this. And then we look forward to seeing you at our boot camp on Saturday.
Let's stretch it out. Stretch a little bit. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Good night.